So once again, Dark Dawn has some new tech. Once again, it's due to Valyssa, and this tech is probably going to shake things up quite a bit for really funny reasons, actually. It doesn't really have a name yet. I'm calling it Command Swap. It kind of describes what's going on, but we'll see what this is all about. This glitch will only work if you have the Quick Select option enabled in the menu. It's off by default, so just pop into the menu and turn it on. Then we can get on with it. So there are two ways to do the glitch, and there are two situations which it applies in. We'll first talk about the situation with attack, and then we'll worry about the situation in the item set. So the two ways this glitch works are, they're both pretty similar. So the first one is we're going to have our cursor pretty much anywhere, we don't really care, and then we're going to press on the synergy icon, and on the frame after we press the synergy icon, we're going to tap left. And if we do it with the correct timing, the game will pop up like this. It will try to attack one of our own party members, and that attack it will actually come through. We can input the attack, and you'll see that, look at that, we attack ourselves. That is kind of weird, but that is what it is. The other way we can do this is we can, as long as we can view attack anywhere, we can press attack and press A on the same frame that we press attack, and that will do the exact same thing. It'll bring up the attack menu once again, and we can do stuff. You may notice that the symbol for the attack is changing based on something. What it's actually changing on is the index of the thing that you have selected, or the index in the menu of what you have selected. So here's probably the most interesting example, which is when you do it with Iris. Iris has a really high index. I think it's index 30, I could be wrong. So here we've got Iris as the selection in the menu. As you can see, if I close out of the menu, come back into it, the cursor automatically goes back to Iris. So I get out of the menu, I press synergy, and then press left on the next frame to select attack. And you can see now I've got this ability called Chaos Strike as my attack. I believe this is an unused ability. It's kind of like an AoE bow thingy that was supposed to apply to some weapon. Pretty cool. But yeah, that's kind of like the most interesting one. There's a host of other things you can do. You can get long swords, side swipe, claws, all manner of things through this. But they're all not that particularly interesting. But yeah. So if we go into the item menu, we can do the exact same thing, but with items. The condition here is that the cursor needs to end on a item that has a use. So like a herb, a bramble seed, a spark shuriken, whatever. It has to have a use. If the cursor ends on one of those things, then you get to inflict something back to yourself. In this case, you can pick up, say, the short sword and try and use the short sword on somebody. The effect of that is it just makes you defend. Not very interesting. It turns out that the synergy items actually have an added effect to them. So the synergy items being Ice Queen, Sand Prince, Slap Glove, Crush Claw, Crush Tusk, sorry, all of those things, they actually have their native synergy built into the item, which is super weird. We're not really sure why that's the case. But anyway, if you tap on one of these items, in this case the Sand Prince, and then switch over to, say, the herb, and then you use that on somebody, you'll actually nuke them with Arid Heat, which is kind of silly. What's strange about the targeting is that it depends on the range of the item you last selected that had a valid range. So Himi's got the three things in her inventory that can be used. It's the Spirit Armlet, the Weasel Claw, and the Crystal Powder. The Spirit Armlet behaves as expected. This has got a range of 1. If you glitch onto the Spirit Armlet, you can see that it's got range 1. Use that, it works just as expected. However, if my cursor starts on the Crystal Powder, you'll see that the range is now 4. And you can confirm it, we can use it, and ta-da, we hit everybody. Which is the same range as the Bramble Seed, or as the Weasel Claw. Crystal Powder, sorry. This is particularly useful when we're trying to deathwarp for sandprints, because now, instead of relying on the sandprints to blow us up, we can have a bramble seed on Terrell, and then use the sandprints to blow everybody up. As you also saw, the sandprints doesn't have to be equipped to the person to use it, as in the case of Hemi. But no, to get ahead of that question, it doesn't bestow the synergy onto the person, so there's currently no out-of-battle use for this glitch, so don't get too excited just yet. So that's really kind of crazy. So that's the command swap glitch. It's very interesting, doesn't seem immediately obviously useful. Like, maybe some quality of life and some death warps and stuff doesn't really seem to fundamentally change the route. However, the day before this glitch was found, Valyssa posted about a hypothetical route called Dad Heist. The Dad Heist route basically steals Isaac and Garrett, and then goes out into the world to do a bunch of stuff, and before returning to steal Jin once you get Reef. The advantage to this is that you don't have to see this really long, annoying Reef cutscene, and you can power through a lot of the situations in the early game that typically give us trouble. In particular, you don't have to save crawl through Ouroboros, you don't have to worry about dying in Compa, and you generally don't need to take any fights. So it's really safe. So this was really exciting. We looked at it, and then we quickly realized, actually, no, this is slower. The only way you can do this is by death warping out of Tanglewood after a precise sequence. And death warping out of Tanglewood is slow. There is about a 30% chance that the enemies will hit Matthew or Karis, and 70% chance they hit Isaac or Garrett. Not only with that, Isaac carries quartz, and quartz can revive somebody, which is really frustrating. So just running into encounters and hoping they kill you is a really slow strategy, and that's where most of the time loss was. Cue this glitch, which we found like about a day after we started testing the route. This glitch allows us to really efficiently death warp in Tanglewood, thereby removing the largest obstacle that Dad Heist had to going fast. So after rechecking everything and applying this new tech to both routes, we actually think that Dad Heist now may be 30 seconds to about a minute faster. And the reason why we think it's like definitively better than the current Dry Heist route is that you get an extra gen from the heist sequence. In the Dry Heist route, which is the one we've been doing for ages, you actually lose a gen when you go into the tutorial sequence. You lose Sleet. Sleet gets overwritten by Isaac and Garrett's gen. In this sequence, we already have them before we start our gen collection process. So we keep that extra gen through the whole thing. In the Dad Heist route, this ends up being a Mars gen, which eventually replaces Fever in the route, and that saves like quite a bit of time. So yeah, this kind of self-destruct button kind of glitch is actually turned out to be really helpful and is going to have a profound impact on the future of Dark Dawn. Dad Heist is probably the way that everyone is going to be doing the early game from now on, with mid-game and late-game largely untouched. The strategies will mostly stay the same, but the early game resets are dramatically going to improve, which is just really great. So yeah, shoutouts to everybody involved with this. Obviously Valyssa for A, proposing the Dad Heist route, and B, finding some technology that will allow us to actually use it. Shoutouts to myself, Regnatrays, Raffi, Drifting Pancake, and the rest of the Golden Sun Speedrun community for chipping in and figuring this stuff out. Like, it's really been a team effort uncovering the depth of this glitch. It's still relatively unknown, but like still like clearly applicable, and you're gonna see it real soon.